Hello everybody and welcome to the Play It Again Sports Jonesboro Open presented by Prodigy Disc. It's been only 6 months since the last Jonesboro Open, yet here we are again. I'm Madison Walker.
I'm Erika Stinchcomb with Westside Discs, and we are two hot geese.
Honk.
Mad, you're on the card, joined by Deann Carey, Hailey King, and Heather Young. Should be a good group. I don't know that we've seen a ton of Deann, but she's been touring for a couple years now. Heather, the young lefty with the amazing putt, and everybody knows Hailey is king. Should be a fun watch.
Yeah, Deann, I was talking to Deann yesterday, and she said that out of her 6 tournaments this year, she's already been filmed 3 times.
Oh, wow. Dang, Deann. All right, so hole 1, it's 380 feet. We're the short pin here on the drone flight, that blue basket. It's downhill. It's reachable by everybody in the field. Everybody's looking to come out strong with a birdie. You look really prepared.
Yeah, did not know I was first on the card. Always prepared.
It'd be helpful if they had like a giant scoreboard with the order, like right next to the tee pad.
For those of you that are not at the event, there is a giant scorecard right next to the hole 1 tee pad. I threw my Roadrunner here. I joked that I turned into the Hulk today. I got the Moderna vaccine last week, and I had Moderna legs during practice runs. So you'll see a lot of these turning over drives.
Moderna legs? Like you didn't throw well in practice?
No, I threw great in practice, but I turned everything over.
Because you're stronger today?
Yeah, Hulk problem. Deann with buttery smooth form, but she turns one over too. Maybe some hole 1 nerves.
Wow, that's a destroyer. So she's like the strongest person in the world, or
we've got 2 Hulks on 1 card.
Hailey King.
This is Hailey with an Undertaker.
It was nice on hole 1 to have the spectators. I know it feels a little foreign still after having a year off and not having spectators at our first 2 Pro Tour events at Waco and Las Vegas, but it was cool to have people there cheering and hanging out and having some spectators there to root you on.
Good shot from Hailey. She's just outside the circle. Yeah, this is the first Phase 2 event that we've played this year, so caddies are allowed, a limited number of spectators are allowed. It's starting to feel pretty normal.
Yeah, Jonesboro did a great job with spectators as well. They had designated areas that they had to stay. So it never felt like they were too far in the mix.
Heather, F7 roller. Really cool shot.
Yeah, Heather notoriously has an issue with distance. She talks about it all the time. How do I get distance? How do I get distance? She hasn't quite been able to figure out. But if she's throwing rollers like that, I mean...
Yeah, I mean, if you can't get there in the air, I guess. That was a really cool shot. We had pretty ideal conditions today. Not really a lot of wind. It was nice and cool. Nothing crazy happening.
Yeah, it was perfect. Deann throwing her AVR. She'll throw that as a sidearm approach on almost every hole.
She listed it as a big bead AVR.
Oh.
So thanks to all the ladies for giving us those disc lists so we can be accurate. Oh, you throwing it in?
I was trying.
Is that like a rhino?
Yes. Run at everything at all times. Hailey finding the basket hugger. Heather, the only one of the group inside the circle, but doesn't quite capitalize. We're all bummed to not have any 2s on the feature card.
Yeah, everyone's just warming up. The putt. Heather and Hailey, both great putters. I'm sure they'll
I'm
clean it
surprised that there was actually only 2 2s on the day from the whole FPO field.
I mean, I think the thing about this course is the birdies are there, but they're not easy. There's like 1 hole that's easy, maybe. And then the rest, like, you do have to throw a pretty perfect shot, They're there, but you're not going to mess up and get a birdie.
Perfect distance drive. Mm-hmm. Kudos to Rebecca Cox and Alexis Mandujano for capitalizing on hole 1, regardless of our newly found spectators.
They were really kind. They clapped for every shot, no matter how bad. Yeah.
Hole 2 is 605 feet. It's a par 4, the first par 4 of the day, and one of my favorite holes on the course. You have to throw through kind of a tight gap off the tee, and you want to finish hyzering left before these trees on the right. The second shot is directly uphill. The basket's on a flat area at the top. You can see the basket if you get far enough down there, but it's pushed far enough back that it's kind of a blind shot for some of your second drives. There's no out of bounds you have to deal with, just some low-hanging branches.
The thing about this shot is you have to throw it like that. Like, it looks sawed off and early, but that should be pretty perfect. Like, if you throw straight in what feels like a good shot, you'll be too far right to really attack the pin.
Yeah, it'll force a long carrying Anheuser drive up a hill, which is a really difficult shot, especially with an uphill run up like you have on a lot of these fairways.
This is a strike from Deann, and she hangs it out a little right, but she should be pretty center cut as well.
So you'll see these stakes in the middle of the fairway. I believe the blue ones are 500 feet, and the red ones are 250 feet away from the pin.
Yes, on the red. I'm not sure about the blue, but probably. Hailey catching an early branch. She'll just be playing for par from there. Bit of a tough hole for a lefty.
Yeah, we kind of talked about lefty shots on this course a lot yesterday. This course is really just not quite made for a lefty player unless you have a pretty killer sidearm.
Or unless you're Emily Beach with the coolest Anheisers ever. She threw some amazing shots.
Shout out to Emily Beach.
Yeah.
I would like to see that.
Oh
I
my
love
God.
Anheuser shots.
I'm going to talk about it a couple times. All right, Hailey with a big booming 376, making me look like a fool if she reaches it because I said she was playing for par.
No. She's
like
like a circle 2.
90 feet out or something.
Yeah, well, she's in circle 3.
Do you think as people get better at putting, we'll just keep adding circles?
I think we'll do away with circle 1.
Yeah.
Heather going kind of from shul to shul, but she gets up just short. She'll still have kind of a blind approach to the pin.
Deann with a Roadrunner. Having to throw that Anheuser, and pretty good angle on it, just inside the circle. Yeah, with that blind shot, it's really hard to park the hole. Like, you can't see it from even there, right? And you're furthest off the tee?
Yep.
Farthest.
I could see just the yellow band on top if I stood on my tippy toes. I threw my TL3, hoping to get it to finish a little more left than it did, but I landed pin high right just outside the circle. So on windy days, the wind was really whipping. So it was nice today to have a nice calm green on pretty much every hole.
Yeah, it actually got calmer as the day went. It was really nice. I mean, we've seen snow, we've seen wind out here, we've seen some crazy mud,
heavy
rain, just nightmares. So, yeah, this was a good day.
Hailey with her spinny little approach half run, one of my favorite shots in disc golf.
Ooh, nice.
Super stoked.
Yeah, that's a good get.
Bonus birdie, in my opinion.
Let's get that GK replay.
Yay, my first one of these.
Look at that lobster hand just spinning it right in.
The best lobster on tour. For those of you at home that are confused, I have red tape on my hand for my fingers, and we joke that it's a lobster claw.
Deann from just inside.
Just a little putting woes. It's only hole 2. Still getting warmed up. Still remembering what it's like to play disc golf.
That's a good scramble from that short tee shot in the shul from Heather.
Hailey saves her par as well from that early tree hit. She's still not happy about it. Serving looks.
Just a nervy little putt.
Not super typical from Deann. She usually doesn't have struggles on the putting green, but we'll call this nerves.
Happens to everybody.
Yeah, we'll move on to hole 3. It's 310 feet. I would say it's slightly uphill. There's out of bounds along the left-hand side. It's a barbed wire fence that's just outside the circle. And then there's some out of bounds deep as well that you won't see many people in the field finding. There's a big hill that kind of slopes down to the right where sometimes there's weird wind action. So you'll get some weird wind bounces on the disc. But like we said, no wind today. That was just all me hulking.
Still get it in circle 2, maybe 50 feet away. Yeah, I mean, it says 310, but it feels more like a 330 kind of a shot or something like that. Like, pretty good rip. And then, yeah, you're just trying not to go left, so definitely you'll see the error is often to the right.
Hailey pretty much pins it.
Yeah, making it look easy with that undertaker.
Yeah, she's got such buttery form. It doesn't even look like she's throwing it very hard. And I kept asking her all day, was that a mid-range? Because she just, it looks like she's throwing a mid-range shot. It's not.
Yeah, it's a D2 from Heather. It looks like she puts a really nice move on it. And even with kind of that full flight, she falls a little bit short. So it definitely plays a little farther than it looks. Deann with an Emperor. And, wow, it's a really nice move on it. Flips up perfect.
Full flight.
Making up for that little miss putt. I'm sure she wants to get the birdie on this one.
It was nice having caddies back out there, too. A few extra people to chat with.
2 for 2?
I tried. It was a good putt. I felt really good about it. It just kind of popped out the left side.
Heather coming up a bit short.
Yeah, looking a little timid on the putting green, which is not like her. She's pretty confident and not aggressive is the right word, but she just puts it right in the heart pretty hard usually, so it's weird to see her looking a little timid.
Hailey finding her first birdie of the round. And Deann with a nice birdie as well.
Super nice bounce back. Putting her back at even for the round.
Yeah, I love to see when there's kind of a silly bogey. I feel like birdieing the next hole is like a really common play for a lot of pros. Like, you're a little mad, and then you just rip it and get the birdie and erase that mistake. Hole 4, you're throwing it down this tunnel and under this branch. I don't really think anybody's throwing a hyzer, so you're just trying to land somewhere out in this open, getting as close to that 250 stake as you can, and then you have to throw up this hill to an elevated pin. There is OB left and deep. That is pretty close to the basket. It's kind of right on the circle's edge. You can see those white stakes. So it can be a pretty tough approach.
What you really want to avoid here is that tree on the right-hand side and this branch that Hailey's sort of flirting with. She gets through all of it and finds the second tree that it's not really in play off the tee, but when you flip your disc, it definitely does come into play.
Yeah, I don't think there's any OB right, is there?
There is, but it's only
way over there.
Yeah, it's only for people. I would say it's more for the MPO going huge hyzer.
Deann turning in a little bit as well, but I think this will be in a little bit better spot than Hailey.
And it's in the exact same spot.
All right, we'll see if you can do any better. It's maybe worse.
It is a lot worse. I find the early tree on the right-hand side that you want to avoid.
At least you're in the middle, though.
Yeah, very fortunate bounce off the tree. It's a weird tee shot because the tee pad is almost as high as that low-hanging branch that you want to avoid. So it's almost like you're throwing at it, but you have to throw down a little bit, but then there's an uphill further down the fairway, so your brain's playing tricks on you. It's something that Jonesboro, the course designer at Jonesboro, did really well, kind of playing those mental tricks from the tee pad. Heather in the exact same spot as the other two ladies on the card, but with a roller. At this point, I'm just playing for par. There's no way I'm going to get up and down. I would say I'm about 450 feet away, maybe a little more than that. Catching some cabbage. Hulked it again. No surprises here.
I mean, you got pretty far up there. What do you think? You got like 200 feet left or something?
Yeah, maybe a little less.
That looks like a Zeus from Hailey.
Look at that perfect little framed up shot. She hits the gap.
Dang. That was awesome.
She'll get inside circle 2 on an elevated pin. You know she's going to run it.
Heather has 176 feet left, according to that Bushnell distance finder. It turns it just too much.
Deann looking at the same little window that Hailey was looking at. Tries to go sidearm as well. Doesn't get as much on it, but she's on the fairway.
Easy
Have a
four.
look. Yep.
So Hailey, the only one on the dance floor for the birdie. Speaking of Bushnell.
Pulling out her big bead AVR. She's super confident with that thing. I'm telling you, she throws it every single hole. She leaves it a little bit short here. Probably doesn't think about the fact that it was an uphill shot, and it takes a lot of steam off your disc, especially if you're throwing a putter.
Well, also just being an uphill run up, sometimes it's hard to
get
the
power.
full, yeah. Mm-hmm. And that one rolls just a bit, but still pretty close. Running it?
Of course. I'm being
It's
serious.
funny that you're serious, yeah.
It's nice, though, that this green, I mean, in practice, this green was a whipping wind at all times. So it was nice and calm here. I didn't feel any nerves with the elevated basket. Hailey running it as well, but looking a lot more like a layup from here. There
Dang,
we go.
wow, what a great par save.
She's well inside circle 2. Nice confidence boost after the last hole putting woes.
That is a sweet replay.
So Deann's been working on transitioning from a jump putt to a step putt. It's a tough process, making that change, but she kind of slipped back into a jump putt. It's still working for her.
I think that's pretty common as you get out further. You know, I'm also trying to switch to a step putt, and after about 50 feet, I really want to jump.
Yes. It's so hard not to. Heather with a great par. Matt with a great par. That feels good. It feels good on any hole out here in reality. I
Yep.
mean, if you mess up just a little bit, you're basically already going to have to settle for par. And if you mess up big time, it's an instant bogey.
Our warehouse manager, Dylan, is on vacation this week, so we decided to bring Heather in to keep things running at a high level. She's already had a huge impact on our crew, and overall, they've embraced the changes surprisingly well. We're really happy with how Heather is doing in this new leadership role.
Moving on to hole 5, another par 3. It's 345 feet, a little bit downhill, so definitely reachable, but there is a lot of trouble you can get in. There's OB all the way down the right-hand side, obviously the water on the right, and this little gully that runs between the green and the rest of the fairway. It's a crush. There's a bunch of trees that you can get tangled up in if you don't throw the perfect flexing shot.
There was a wind on this one, too, a bit of a headwind. So Hailey's disc does flip a bit, but it looks good.
She was nervous, but I knew out of her hand. This is kind of an easy distance for her. She just has to throw it softly, and she can throw those controlled distance drives. Puts it on the green, no problem.
I'd say you'd probably see most of the field lay up.
Yep.
And you're just trying to get, pretty far down there and not have this one little skinny tree in your way on the approach.
But there's a pretty good-sized gap on the left and right side of the tree,
Yeah.
so it sets up for forehand and backhand approaches, and they're going to be pretty short as long as you keep your layup in bounds and down the fairway. I'm not going to lie, it felt so wrong to lay up on this hole.
Yeah, I wanted to go for it, but I the two ladies that went in front of me ended up flipping their discs, so I was like, oh, this one's a little windy.
There you go.
Like, you could feel it a little bit, but it's kind of a different part of the course than the first 4 holes, and it just kind of filtered down this hill.
I just knew I was hulking everything.
You made the right call.
Yeah.
I know, I threw my layup, and I was like, someone was like, good shot, and I was like, lame shot.
If you do throw out of bounds, you can see a little flag to the right of Heather. That is the drop zone, and it's where you would take it. Thankfully, we will not see any drop zone shots from this card.
Yeah, I think a lot more people would go for it if it was just normal out of bounds rules and not a drop zone, because it's a guaranteed 4 or worse from the drop zone.
Hailey for 2. Only 2 2s on the day from the FPO field. 1 for Hailey and 1 for Jessica Weiss.
Yeah, that's a great 2. Brings Hailey to 2 down through 5. Really great score. Couple of boring layup pars. But it's a smart way to play the hole. It just doesn't feel satisfying.
Yeah, it's a decision-making hole more than it is a fun and impressive hole.
Unless you're Hailey. Or Jess.
Yeah.
Hole 6 is the island hole. You have to land safe on the island, or else you have to go from this drop zone, those 2 pink flags that's on the other side of the water. The OB line is a little bit off the water, I'd say like a foot or even 2, so you can't just barely cross, you have to be fully in bounds. All those stakes are OB as well. It's not very far, and it plays shorter because it's downhill, but it's intimidating.
Hailey in that little zone you just talked about, she bounces back into the water, and even though she crossed on that side, she will still be taking it from the drop zone. Every tee shot that does not land in bounds goes through the drop zone, regardless of if it crosses.
Oh no. Well,
This is a Valkyrie.
She didn't get as much as she
And-
wanted on it.
second
Comes up
guessing
short and
everything
left.
in my lap.
It's interesting. You can throw a mid or a fairway or a driver. It's just whatever you're comfortable with on this hole. It's like an interesting distance where the variety of discs, like I'd love to see what everybody in the field threw,
Yeah,
you know?
definitely. Because it's almost like you could throw a straight putter shot even.
Yeah.
Or kind of saw off a driver. And I'm surprised we're not seeing more sidearms on the card, because it's definitely a sidearm friendly shot and one that's reachable by a lot of the FPO field.
That was a great shot from you. What was that disc?
That was a Thunderbird, but thrown kind of softly. There was a little bit of a crosswind, and I can trust that disc not to flip, so I just kind of tried to put it down the right-hand side and hug the tree line.
Yeah, beautiful shot. This is a D2. Pushing a little too straight.
Sneaks in.
Nice. Yeah, I think that lefty hyzer or the sidearm is probably the most open option. But it's a scary sidearm.
Yeah, it's still
Like, it's
still
yeah,
kind of far.
Yeah, it's... Ooh, nope.
Hailey gets a little quick wrist. Puts it nose up. Maybe a little nervy. She didn't really say. She just kept saying that was bad.
Maybe she didn't even practice the drop zone, because like she just made it every time in practice. I definitely did that. Deann laying it up perfectly. And yeah, Hailey's going to have to keep throwing until she makes it, which it looks like this one is fine. Pushing the back edge, but inbounds.
This is a really weird stat. There are no threes on this hole.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you make it across, you're pretty much inside the circle, so I guess that makes sense, you know, unless you miss a putt. That was a great putt from Heather.
It is 50% twos and 50% bogey or worse.
Exactly?
Exactly.
Wow. So it averages exactly 3?
Yeah.
That's nuts.
This is for the birdie. Maybe I said too much, that there are no threes on this hole.
Spoiler.
Sorry. This is where I always accidentally do spoilers. Catching some left side chains. I was bummed by this. Super happy to make it on the island, but you can't putt. Deann getting her bogey from drop zone.
Mad getting her bogey from the island green.
I was a little nervous. There's another hole that plays kind of across this fairway, and discs can come in. And as I was lining up my first putt, a disc dropped into one of the trees right behind me, and I was nervous about discs coming in the whole time. That's all I could think about. I'm not going to make excuses because that's not what professionals do.
Right. I mean, it doesn't sound like that's exactly what you're doing.
Hole 7's a par 4. It's 545 feet. There's that big tree on the right. You want to hyzer in front of that and land somewhere over here in the grass to set yourself up for a little bit more of an open approach to the green. It's 2 drives for sure. It just depends on if it's a sidearm or a backhand anhyzer on your next shot. There's not really out of bounds you have to contend with here, but there is a fence that cuts along the front right side of the green with some trees that make the obstacles a little bit more difficult if you're putting from that side of the green.
I'd say for a right-handed player, you're trying to go backhand then sidearm to the pin, so just reverse it for Heather. Although I think that the left side is definitely better of that big tree, so I'm not sure if she was trying to go left side and just pulled it.
Yeah, she pulled it. She wasn't happy with that shot at all. Turned it over more than she wanted. Deann with a pretty much textbook drive here. It was perfect. Got some good distance out of it as well.
She is beauty. She is grace.
And I follow it up with a very graceful drive into the ground. It's going to make the second shot a lot more difficult. It's a lot farther away, obviously.
Hailey coming off that tough quad bogey. Probably looking to just get some anger out on this one. And that's a decent shot.
Yeah, sneaks under the branches. She'll have no problem getting up and down from there. At this point, I'm playing for 4. I mean, if I can get close and set myself up for a putt, that's great. But, I mean, I'm going to have to throw the disc perfectly. I would say it's about 360 uphill from here. Maybe a little less than that.
That's an interesting spot to putt. You might have a window, but often you don't. And isn't that barbed wire right there too?
Yep.
Which is always fun. Heather having to try to push around this tree.
Even though she hits a lot of branches, she still gets on down there just outside circle 2.
Yeah. Easy par. Deann in a good spot. Throwing the backhand. So I guess she's just trying to maybe get lucky through these trees or hyzer out right before the trees. It's definitely a better, more open sidearm than it is a backhand. Hailey with the crush drive, only 222 feet left. And
A little early release, but she gets through everything and she's inside the circle.
yeah, that was a great shot with her zone.
Like I said earlier, usually if you throw a bad shot at Jonesboro, you're going to be struggling to save your par. This hole looks a little different. We watched Heather struggle on her first 2 shots and still managing to save a par.
I mean, at 545, it's a pretty short par 4,
Yeah.
even though it's uphill. This is one where par maybe doesn't feel quite as good.
Yeah, definitely. It's a little bit of a tweener or a soft par, I guess.
Well, I mean, the front 9 is quite a bit easier than the back 9, so everybody's trying to get under par here to kind of take the pressure off.
Yeah, cushion the brutal back 9.
Really nice comeback from Hailey after that last hole.
She is not going on tilt. Like a true professional. Heather saving the par after some issues with drives. Just looking to tap in and move on. We're all hoping, like we said earlier, for the birdie on that hole. This next hole, hole 8, is I would say a very difficult birdie hole.
Mm-hmm.
It's a par 3. It's 324 feet. It plays maybe slightly. Is it uphill? Downhill? It's hard to tell.
I mean, it goes down then up, so I'd say it plays pretty straight.
It does play pretty flat, maybe a little bit uphill. It's an anhyzer or a crushing forehand like we get to see Hailey do here. But it feels just out of reach. If you err and anhyzer early or cut early, there's a bunch of bushes over on the right-hand side.
And that's jail over there.
Yeah, absolute jail. So you don't want to finish right early. You'd rather finish out left and open up your approach to the basket on your second shot.
This is a great lefty hole. If you're going for the birdie, I think it is a sidearm. For a righty backhand, it's really hard to get all the way to the pin. You're just kind of looking at circle 2 probably with the righty backhand. Both Heather and Hailey, I think with, decent shots, leaving them, about 40 feet away. We'll see Deann attempt the backhand anhyzer. The error you want to make is definitely straight or to the left. A lot of people are just playing kind of straightish and trying not to play with that right side jail.
Yeah, Deann gets a fortunate bounce out. I know it looks like roller bad, but in reality, that was a great reaction.
What's your play?
I'm going to do the backhand anhyzer too, but the weird thing about the shot, it's blind, and it's also a late flip. So you have to go straight for a while, or like I did, play it way out to the right and let it finish. This is the first time I did not hulk the disc, the one time I wanted to. So I'm outside circle 2, but deep, so it opens up my approach to the pin. But yeah, you kind of want a late flip. You have to do like a full flight, hyzer to flat to super late turning.
Yeah, very technical.
Deann running at it.
Nice floaty run, stays close. Mad running it from 80 feet.
In reality, this is one of the scarier greens because if you hit that lighthouse or the cage or the band with this hill, it's likely to pick up and roll, and this is a big hill to mess with rolling.
Yeah, the Pro Tour just posted a picture or a video of Paul Macbeth. A little spoiler, rolling away on this hole, and it was a bad roll away. It's a really entertaining video, though, so check out their Instagram.
Yeah, it is very entertaining. Heather with the 2.
All right.
Feels
Putter
good.
Heating up.
Yeah, it feels good for the lefty to get the lefty hole.
Yeah, there aren't that many out here.
No.
Let's watch that GK replay.
On the elevated basket, no problem. Uphill. There are only 5 birdies on the day. So congrats to Heather for getting one of the 5.
Hailey having to duck a bit under the low branches, but no problem.
Honestly, I'm happy with the 3 on this hole because of how tough that tee shot is. Even though it's only 324 feet. I'm cool with the par here.
Yeah, it's easy to get a little greedier than you mean to and make a bad mistake.
Yeah, find yourself in trouble.
All right, rounding out the front 9, we have our first par 5 of the day at 715 feet. You're shooting out a relatively narrow gap. You're trying to land somewhere in this first ditch, and then you're throwing up and then to the left at a pretty close to a 90-degree angle. This green is pretty dangerous. There's water right behind it on the right. It can pick up and roll. I mean, a 3 is gettable, but would be pretty astounding.
Yeah.
4 is definitely achievable, but you do, again, have to throw really perfect shots. Like, you can't mess around and just get the 4.
No. Like, basically, Heather's going to play for 5. Play for 5 here, yeah. And when Erika says that this is a pretty tight gap, I don't know why, but I feel like it feels so tight. It
doesn't look that bad.
No.
But I threw so early left. I was like on the green of that other hole right there.
And the bad, oh God.
Yeah, like it was bad.
Oh God. The bad thing about this too is, I mean, you can get through the gap. Like we just see Hailey, and she gets way down there too. I mean, that was an absolute monster crush. Yeah. And Deann too. She gets through the gap. But when you get down here, this fairway is super lumpy. So like you're kind of almost like hoping that you get a good spot like set up for the run up for the next shot, because it's another distance drive. You hope to have no lumps in your run up.
No lumps. Or you have to like James Conrad like prance over the lumps in your run up. I feel like he's the best in the game at that. Like, oh, there's a bunch of stuff in the way. I'm just going to hopscotch my way through it.
I'm just going to step over it like the Jolly Green Giant. Heather, she's kind of back in the woods, but she still gets a full run up, puts a move on it, and she is just short of Hailey's drive. That explains to you how far Hailey is down the fairway.
Yeah, Hailey just, wow. Like, she's playing for the 3.
I threw a TL3 off the tee. I'm following it up with a Roadrunner because it's pretty uphill. I I mean, I lined up to the tree, so obviously I'm going to hit the tree. Not sure why I did that.
It's an interesting decision.
It's going to make the third shot a little bit more difficult because there's some low-hanging branches over there. But I would say I'm about 150 feet away.
Deann had a really good drive, and this is pretty common to just kind of get up to the top of the hill, and she should have a pretty, I don't want to say easy birdie because that hill can be dangerous, but
She played the hole just how she wanted.
Yeah.
She was super psyched with where her drive landed. She wanted it to finish left to open up that second shot to just throw 2 dummy hyzers. So she was really happy with it. She said she got farther than she's ever been on this hole in practice. So Hailey coming up a bit shorter than you would expect on her second shot. She really could have crashed the green if she wanted to.
a backhand, though, you have to, like, get lucky through that big tree on the right.
Yeah, you really have to
get there.
push.
So that was a really smart decision from Hailey.
Yeah, you have to really push those branches.
You're super lucky to have a gap.
Yes, super lucky. I threw a gator sidearm, hoping to work the skip.
That wasn't luck. That was skill. Nice shot.
Heather, after unfortunately getting a roller on her third shot, has a kind of a tester shot for her 5, but she makes it look easy. Lays a putter up super softly, right under the pin.
Good scramble from Heather. I got the 5 even though I was, like, so early left. So just
Nice save.
gonna brag for 1 second.
Deann
Like-
with her big beat AVR again.
Get it.
Hailey.
Kidding, she's laying up.
Yeah. Kind of a poor layup, but a layup. It skids way down the hill.
Do you think she was just laying? I mean, nice.
Yes.
Mm.
She was definitely laying up.
Yeah, she's not gonna be happy with that after that big tee shot.
No, she's super speedy on her shots. I wonder what would happen if she slows down.
Can't stop, won't stop.
No. I was psyched.
Yeah, you pranced right up there for your birdie.
40% of the field with birdies. In,
Nice.
FPO, so that's super awesome. This is, in my opinion, a great FPO hole. It's a little bit of a soft par 5, but because it allows you to make some mistakes, but love that FPO hole for sure.
Our feature card planned pretty well so far, finding a little trouble, but also finding plenty of birdies. Heather leading off with a -2, yourself at -1, Deann even, and then Hailey with that unfortunate hole 6 is at +1. Madison Walker is friggin' 7 down through 16, Paige 4 down through 8. There are some hot scores out here. That entire leaderboard under par, looking really good.
I know it's nice to see the whole FPO field under par, like a lot of them under par in the top 10. It shows some really awesome diligence and course design for the women.
Thanks again. Join us on the back.
Honk.